Hey guys, it is Cara from Enchanted Vines. I am going to be doing a Valentine's Day wreath today. I did like a quick poll. I did it at the last minute. So what was first place was a Valentine's Day wreath, and then second was making bows. So I figured, like, let's just kill two birds with one stone and make a bow for a Valentine's Day wreath. So if you're watching, I'd love to know where you're watching from. I'm here in New Hampshire. It's rather gloomy, but it is Friday, so it might just be like one of those like lazy weekends. So right now I'm just cleaning up the front and the back of the wreath like we do, because we don't want to scratch any doors. All right. All right. I'm supposed to have this all set up, and I don't. All right. There we go. Ah, Deborah is with us from England. Hi, Deborah. I get so freaked out, like, because I have my iPad over here so that I can see the comments. But when you look at it, it's like a mirror in a mirror. It just really weirds me out. So thank you for joining. We're doing a Valentine's Day wreath today. We're going to do a nice bow. So I don't do a lot of Valentine's Day wreaths. I don't find that there's like a huge market for it, unless like you do a lot of like the, over the top cute sweet stuff, and I love those. I just don't do them. So for mine, what I usually do is a wreath that you can then switch out the bow, so like it's not so Valentine's-y, it can be a little bit more neutral. So that's what we're gonna do today. All right, so our wreath is all prepped, and so we're gonna be making, I don't know what we're gonna be making exactly. I'm doing another like fly by the seat of my pants thing, because I have a sign that I want to put on here, and I don't know it's big, so I don't know how it's going to work. So for now, we are going to take one of our grapevine wire hooks, or they're called jute wire, and we're just going to twist it. Let's see, Marjorie's saying gloomy in Ohio too. Yeah, I was like so excited for winter, and I'm like just kind of getting like feeling over it, and when you're over it, it's like blah. So I made just a little wire hook or loop, and then because it blends in so easily, I'm just going to take this little piece of ribbon and I'm going to mark it, just tie it in a knot. I was getting questions about supplies, so I did start an Amazon. Well, there's like a link tree, and then there's an Amazon shop, and it has like these exact products. If you're interested in them, you can go check them out. All right. So once our wreath is prepped, we're going to work on our bow. And I have said this before, and I shall say it again. I'm still learning on this. I don't know why, but the Easy Bowmaker has just like stumped me for so many years, and then recently I watched a video and it just like clicked, and like that's just how it goes sometimes. So there are far better people to watch making bows than me, but we're gonna do it anyways. Okay, work in progress. So I do have a Valentine's Day wreath workshop coming up, and so for that, all the ladies are gonna get one of these bows for Valentine's Day, and then they're gonna get a neutral bow like this. So it's the same idea, making sure that it's something that they can use for more. Valentine's is such a short season, so I want to make sure that it's something that they can use for a while. So this ribbon is from Craft Outlet, and when they do these 50-yard deals, they're really inexpensive. Like this is if you have a print that you really like and you find it on one of these, like I have a green and white one, and it was like under $12 for 50 yards. So doing the math, I mean, I'm not going to do the math because I'm horrible at math, but you get a lot of like mini rolls in one big roll for a good price. All right, so to start, we're gonna start at the right side. I don't know why this guy squeaks now, but he does. All right, and so this is gonna be our first tail. I'm gonna slide it in between these wire pegs. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to twist this ribbon so that the front side, like the pretty side of the ribbon, is facing down. It's down on our bow maker. I'm gonna measure 5 inches, like there's little, it tells you right here, there's like a little ruler on it. And so what I like to do is when I get to whatever that measurement is, I like to flatten it, because if you leave it kind of like up and fluffy, your measurement's it could be off. So I like to just flatten mine. Then we're gonna feed this back through these dowels, I think would be the proper word. And again, we're gonna fully twist this so that the real pretty side of the ribbon is facing down. And we're gonna measure another 5 inches. All right, so we're gonna do this 6 times at this length. Okay, so I'm just going back and forth. And the part that I was really stumped on was like how much you needed to twist it and flatten it. So like for me, it was like really thick and it was just kind of all over the place. And if you don't twist it fully, then it's just like, it's not going to be like easy to grip in the middle. So we're gonna continue making our 5-inch loops. Like there's a lot of cool things you can do with these bow makers. Like I've seen so many people that they do, you know, like they'll mix in like different patterns, and they'll do like 1-inch ribbon and different like, you know, materials of ribbon. And I just think it's very nice, very creative. All right. So this is our 6th loop. And what I'm gonna do now is I want to make 4 of the 4-inch loops. So I'm gonna check where my little ruler is under here for 4, okay? And that way I know where to push this down. And then I'm gonna fully twist my ribbon. And again, look at my ruler for the 4. Here we go, we're at 4 inches. And I've been questioning if there's a way to like control, you know, like your ribbon bolt, because it gets all, it's just not facing the right way, and then your ribbon gets all kind of twisted like this. Someone did give me an Etsy shop that maybe has like some type of solution, so I still have to look into it, but I'm glad to know that other people, you know, have that issue, and that maybe there's a solution for it. All right. Yeah, okay. All right, this is the 4th of the 4-inch loops. So I'm gonna feed this through, and then this is gonna be our 2nd tail. I'm gonna trim this. And then we're gonna just do 1 loop here, and this is kind of, I think it's called like the button. It's like that center of your bow. So I'm going to make another tail. I'm gonna start off the exact same way. Make the tail, and then I'm gonna twist my ribbon, and I'm just gonna make it about 2 inches. I'm just gonna eye it, because there's only gonna be 1, so it doesn't have to be precise. Okay, and then I'm gonna cut again. All right, so here's what it looks like right now, okay? So I always like to spread out the loops before we take it off. That way, like, because once you get it on there, whether you're using a zip tie or your floral wire, it's pretty secure. So if you already kind of move these around so that they're facing the direction you want them to go in, it's going to be easier to like spread and have like a more even balance with your loops. So I just move them around like so. All right. I had started using zip ties with this. It seemed easier to me. And then I found out that this guy's
the lowest point in the United States is Death Valley.
Alexa, I was not talking to you. Sorry if I just triggered anybody
I
else's.
my name.
Well, you didn't hear your name. Do you ever feel like you talk so mean to Alexa? Like you wouldn't talk to a person like that, but like you'll like raise your voice or like use a really like not pleasant tone like I just did. Like I wouldn't talk to a person like that, but I don't know. I could be kinder to her. Okay, so I've got my loop spread, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to carefully pull this up from the dowel so I have my pointer finger, yes, and my thumb on this, okay? And then what we need to do is we're holding this nice and tight. I'm gonna slide this floral wire under my thumb and turn this upside down. What you have to do is you have to make sure that you're putting your wire or your zip tie exactly how it was on the bowmaker, because otherwise they're going to be off sides. They're going to be uneven if you kind of have it more to one side than the other. All right, so we're going to twist and twist, nice and tight. Okay. And then we're going to start to fluff. And so to fluff, I just put my hand in each of the loops. Let's get this girl looking nice and bubbly. So I don't know how I made it 46 years without knowing this, but let me know, tell me if you knew about this, that January 17th is called like National Quit Day. And it's because by that day, the majority of people, I'm guessing it's Americans, have already quit their New Year's resolutions. Has anyone else heard that? Because I think it's so funny. I went in to just get like some of these like zip tops, because it's just what I like to wear around the house, and everything was marked down. Like this was $13. I got things for $8. I mean, I walked away with, I don't know, like 8 things, and it was about $100. Like everything was just super cheap. So I'm like, yeah, people had a resolution. I mean, I got on my Peloton once. Wasn't exactly my goal. I need to get back on it more than once. But I didn't make a resolution, so I'm not a quitter. I'm just lazy. All right. So here we go. We've got our beautiful loop. And for these, I like to put them on floral picks. I always want them to kind of like be jumping off the wreath and not like be all smushed in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my floral pick. It has this little piece of copper wire, but you can disregard it. You don't need to cut it off or anything, but we're really going to be relying on the wire that's here. Okay, so starting at the top, we are going to twist, 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 and run this all the way down. Okay, like so. All right. And then because I like to hide the mechanics, I'm going to take floral tape. And floral tape is just tacky. It's not like a sticky adhesive like regular tape. So what you do is you like really put pressure on it while you're wrapping it, and it's going to hold. And you don't have to do this step. I mean, it's going to be, the pick is going to be in the wreath. I just always like to hide things, especially like when they're in like an industrial material like metal, like a metal wire. So, all right. So here you go. We've got our bow. Then we are going to start with, we'll start with the bow. Okay. Here we go. All right. So I have this is like my new best friend, this hot pink glue pan from Surebonder. She's so cute and she works really, really well. So when you're making sure that your glue is hot enough, it should be like honey or like a syrupy consistency. If ever you have like glue that's smoking, I always shut it off because that cannot be good to breathe in. So I usually just run her on the lowest setting unless like I'm in a rush to get started, and so I want her to be hotter than usual. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna dip it in my glue pan. I have not named her yet, but she shall have a name. And we're gonna put our bow right at the halfway point. And now we just gotta figure out, the tails are pointing down. And we want to make sure that our larger loops, the 5-inch loops, are in the back, and then the 4-inch loops are kind of going in between them. So this looks nice and full. And leave no bow loop unfluffed. Okay, so you want to make sure that nothing's hiding. I always find them hiding under the tail. So you want to kind of get your tails sorted out so that they're under all the loops. They're not actually blocking anything. Okay. Let's see, and then we're going to dovetail. All right, we got Dawn from Cali. Haven't heard it named that, but yes. Oh, Dawn, yeah, I'm glad you caught me live too. It's like, I mean, I'm sure it's hard to find people like in the middle of the day, but it's like so much more fun to just craft when you have like your crafting like friends with you. So nice to see you too. All right, so I'm going to dovetail all of these ribbon tails. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half. Okay, so the open edges are facing this way. And then without losing a finger, I am going to just do a nice angled cut up, and it cuts this out, okay? So the tails don't all have to be even. However, one of these is much longer than the rest, so we're gonna shorten it. Okay, and you can dovetail anything or just do like a nice slant on it, but I don't like to leave things unfinished. You want everything to have like that nice polished look down to every last detail. All right. So there we go. For the 33% that voted for a bow, you got your bow. And I am still practicing, so it's good that I'm making more too, so I can keep practicing. All right, for today, we're going to be using our variegated ficus. So this is from Pioneer Wholesale. And this is actually bigger, I think, than just the plain green. And this is so pretty. I mean, it's got a lot of detail to it, you know, like I like the color, I like the white. So I think this is like a great greenery to always have on hand. One thing that I do think should be considered is if we're doing, hold on, let me grab another one. So when you're going to choose your greenery, if you use this kind, to me it's a bit blue based. So for me, I would use different types of greenery, like maybe like a certain type of eucalyptus, something that just has like a little bit of blue. And you'll see I pulled some things. And then if I'm doing something like this is more yellow based. So like this is like fresh. So I want everything to look like this, you know, and kind of mimic it. So I think whatever your foundational green is, you should build off of that. You know, and also your flowers are gonna kind of help you decide which one you're gonna use. So like if I have something that's super vibrant and I want it to really pop, I might go with this. And then if I have something that's on the softer side, like what we're gonna be working with, I would go with this. So, you know, from the beginning stages, we're doing like, we have like little building blocks, okay? So for our ficus, we are going to get 4 cuts off of each branch. And so these 2 side pieces, they're always the right size. So you just clip these at the base. And then the one in the middle, unless you're doing like a really tall arrangement, this is generally like just too big. So I cut it halfway. And then there's this little guy, this little nubbin, which I'm glad people are adopting this very professional term. This little nubbin, we're gonna hold on to because there's a good chance it could just be used as filler somewhere. We might not use it. Sometimes it gets discarded, but sometimes it doesn't. Okay, and then we're gonna continue on. Let's see. I hope everyone had a good week and is like just ready to wrap it up, because I know I am. It has been a week. Okay, nubbin, keep them. All right, for now I'm just gonna cut 2. So I have this sign, but because I plan everything so poorly, I think it's probably still wet, but I'll show you what it is. Okay. So we could do this love sign, and it's big. It's gonna take up a lot of the wreath, so we can build under it a little, but we just have to keep in mind, you know, the space that's gonna be taken up. So let me see. And if or when I sell this, I'm going to repaint this. This is not professional quality. So let's see. So what do you guys think? Yay or nay on the sign? We could either just build this out all florals, or we could incorporate the sign. I will let you decide as I hold this wet sign in my hand. All right, let's see. All right, nobody has an opinion on the sign. Okay. Maybe because of how it looks right now, but all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my greenery, okay? So using my glue pot. No, this glue pot uses pellets. I've probably explained this before. Oops. Let me just knock everything over. But so these glue pots use glue pellets. So Surebonder makes their own. I'm sure there are other brands that do too. I find that the Surebonder ones, they don't smoke very much. So I like just using like the same product and just ordering them together. But they are high temp. And what's really important about high temp is, one, if it lands on you, the profanity is just gonna, you just can't help it because your skin is just gonna immediately blister. But the other thing too is that if you're, you know, if your wreath is going off to somewhere where the door is under like really heavy duty sun, having something that's high temp means it's going to withstand like that level of heat. If you use something like, you know, a very like, I don't know, cheap, or it's not high temp glue, there is a chance that it's going to get warm enough that things are just kind of slowly going to like melt, and then, you know, your work is undone. So it's better to use the high temp. Just like I don't wear flip-flops. I don't let my dogs anywhere near this area because there have been times where I found like glue drips on their heads. They don't know because of the fur, but definitely something, it's a great tool, but just be cautious with it, okay? So let's start with our greens. Okay. Oh, okay, Mary, I didn't have the sign up. Okay, I'll start with the greens and then I'll pull it again. The timing might have been off a little bit. So as I always start for a crescent wreath is I'm going to set up my parameters. So this is in general how high we're gonna go. And then I'm gonna repeat. And this is how low we're gonna go. And it's just a guide. Now when I'm working on the bottom half of a grapevine, I like to have things go upward, because you can kind of hear it getting stuck, as opposed to like just kind of sitting in here. I just don't think it's as secure. This is like a big, oh, all right. All right, and now we're gonna figure out our side-to-side parameters. And if you know me, you know I'm OCD, so if I do something once, it's gonna happen twice. So what I'm doing with these is all of these materials, they're super malleable. So I want these to follow the curve of the grapevine wreath. So I'm just gonna give it a little bend. You're not gonna break it. I mean, these things really can take quite a beating if they're good quality. If you have something that's maybe not the best quality, then they might not be like as durable, but these are definitely a very durable product. Okay, now we're going to do this corner over here. And I want this to go in a little. I want it to taper off a bit from here. And then I'm going to repeat. And I just want to be thoughtful while I'm building that I'm not going to like totally swallow up the bow, even though it's on a pick. I don't want things that are too high right next to it because it's just going to take away from it. All right, and we're going to use our nubbins. So we're going to take our little nubbin guy and we're just going to plug them in. And that's really just to cover up the grapevine base. Just a little added filler. All right. go. Okay, so this is the foundation of our wreath. What I figured we would build with today was a mix of like pinks and whites. Okay, so I thought, you know, it goes with the bow, but using the white, it is definitely gonna break it up. All right, so what I like about these bushes, this one's from Pioneer. I always like that they have these little extras, and I love Pioneer. I mean, I'm not sponsored. I just honestly love them. But like foliage like this, I don't love. You know, it's like it's shiny and it's just not, it just doesn't give me that natural feel. So I'm just gonna push these down, all these leaves. And I just feel sometimes like when you have like a big bush of flowers, there's like, they're cost effective, and so maybe something gets sacrificed, and I feel like it's the foliage. So I'm just gonna take a minute and run all those leaves down. I just don't think it's worth keeping it in and then like detracting from how natural it looks, even though it could add like a little bit more of a filler. I just don't think it's worth it. All right, let's see. Oh, we got Roseanne at the Cape. Well, I'm jealous. How's the weather down there? Because I'm in New Hampshire and it is dreary. Dreary. And when I have a blowout, a fresh blowout, I don't want to go outside. So somebody like came to drop something off to me today. And I just like stood in the garage, and I think she was like, "What is your problem?" I'm like, "My hair. I'm not leaving. You can come to me, even though you're bringing me something and doing me a favor." Guts to protect the blowout. At my salon, which is Salon Pure in Salem, New Hampshire, they have like different blowout options, and one of them is mine, and it's called the Anchor Woman. They're changing it to Mob Boss because like that's in. I mean, they're a younger crowd than me, so but right now you can see me as the Anchor Woman, and pretty soon I'm going to be the Mob Boss. So I'm dressed in black. So, all right, so we've got all of our flowers cut, and we're gonna start on a pattern. And doing a pattern is really helpful because especially if you don't really know what direction you're gonna go in. Like I did an Easter one the other day, and I was like fumbling over things because it was like an oval wreath. It had to put a bunny in. It was like a bunch of things I just haven't done in a long time, and it just didn't feel like there was like muscle memory there. So what I did rely on was using a pattern, and then like, you know, once you set your first, you know, pattern, then you start to see where you can then go in and fill in with a second pattern and, you know, a third and so forth and so on, depending on how many things you do. So you're going to see us put in our first layer of our pattern. Okay. And I also don't really know where this is going. So again, the pattern. Let's see. All right. Let's see. It is so dreary. So let me see. Deborah asked where I get my inspiration from. And I'm going to say this is probably not very helpful, but I get it kind of everywhere. Like sometimes, let me back this up so you can see it. Sometimes it's based on my mood, and sometimes it's based on something I saw. It might not even have to do with, like, have anything to do with flowers, but it has something to do with, like, the color combos. Last year, my daughter, who's like my one and only, went off to college, and I just was so like, you know, empty nest. I felt a little empty, and I was happy for her, but I was sad for me. And so then I started doing like this line of wreaths called like moody wreaths. So they had like some really dark colors, like those orchids that are like, they're so burgundy, they're almost black. And then I put like really pops of like bright things because it was like a good moment for her and something I had to get used to. So like that inspired me, and that was like actually almost like a therapeutic outlet for me for a while. So you know, it really could be anything, you know, and sometimes I have clients who give me custom requests and we don't always know exactly what the other one's thinking. So that sometimes people push my boundaries of designing, which is great. And sometimes, you know, I can help somebody get, you know, something even better than what they originally intended. All right, so pattern, bottom. Now we have these two guys going inward. And now we're left with these smaller blooms. Okay. I usually say to check how many things you have first, and I didn't. So we have 4 and 4. So what I'm actually going to do is rewind. Sorry, guys. It's like so thick. Okay, so these two are facing the same way. And now I'm going to do a grouping on the end. So I'm going to take one of the larger blooms. I'm going to put it here, going up a little bit. And then I'm going to group it with one of these blooms. So let me know where you get your inspiration from, because I mean, it's not just like a craft store. In craft stores, I get carried away, but like there are a lot of places to pull from, and I'd love to know where you get your inspiration from, and if it's ever like mood driven, let me know. Okay, so Roseanne is asking if you use Real Touch flowers, would you use UV spray? So what I found out is that, I mean, I would, if you're going to use them, yes, do the UV spray, but Real Touch flowers aren't really meant to be outdoors unless they're covered. And I didn't know that for a few years, but they're not durable enough because they don't have kind of like that coating to protect them. Like that's why they're so soft, is because of the material that they're made with. So if you are making something with Real Touch or you get a request for it, I would just ask the person, you know, is it going to be covered? Because if it starts to get, you know, rain or snow, it's going to start to like eventually get discolored, and then, you know, the wreath starts to not look as beautiful as it was. So, you know, wreaths aren't cheap, so we want to make sure that we have happy clients and that they're going to last several seasons. So that's my take on it. I love Real Touch. I just save them for my floral arrangements. But like, holy cow, are Real Touch flowers amazing. Like the orchids, I love. And let me see, what's the other one? Orchids, magnolias. Yep, I love that too. And so I actually have a magnolia wreath that I made with Real Touch flowers before I found out about their durability. And so I never sold it. If I do, I'm going to make sure that it's like really clear that it's not for outdoor use, but I just pulled it off my site for now. Okay, and now we have all these extra little accent pieces. So this time I'm going to count. And so we have 3 that are the same, and then this guy's he's just a little greenery. So I always like to have things that are cascading. So what I like to do is kind of have things like dissipate as we go. So it's going to go from like the heaviest to the thinnest. And I always like there to be like a piece of interest at that very edge. So I'm going to slide this in. And since we're left with an odd number here, I am going to go just behind my bow. Like so. All right. So we see our first pattern. Okay, we used 8 blooms and a couple of accents, but the blooms are what really matter. So we've got our first pattern. Now what we're gonna do is go, let's see. I wish I had some smaller hydrangeas. Let me just try and find like the smaller heads on this bush. Okay, so this bush is from Hobby Lobby. No idea when I got it, but I'm gonna just use like the smaller ones because hydrangea heads are so big and I just don't want it to like overtake the look of the wreath. So this also has lousy foliage. I think I'm a little bit of a foliage snob. It's just where things go off track sometimes. All right. Sorry, shepherd barking. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to start at the same spot that I continue to start at between the greenery and the pattern. So I am going to go in, I'm going to dip this in the glue, and I'm going to put my first hydrangea bloom right here, okay? And I'm making sure that it's not straight up against these other flowers, like they're not smushed. Okay, sorry, yeah. So, I think it's Carol. Oh, Roseanne was saying that, yeah, the real touch can get dirtier. That's true. And let's see. Dawn likes the bow. Thank you. And then Cynthia gets inspiration. Oh, from YouTubers like me. That's awesome. That's definitely how I started to learn. So that makes me really happy because that means that I am returning service pretty much. And then we have Deborah. Deborah said that she just started in August or autumn. No, autumn, she said. So like seasonally, this might be her first time going around with the spring florals. So I'm very curious if you have like specific flowers or colors that you're interested in for spring. Because each season like has its own thing. Like I always say my favorite season is the next season because I just get so excited at the materials. And fall has a lot of good materials. And they have a lot of good colors. So that was a good season to start. Let's see, we're going to continue with our pattern. I got to go down here. And then right here I have this gap. This is giving me a run for my money. Okay. So yep, we always want the florals to have a little bit of airiness and space in between them. Oh, I don't like how this went. If ever you put something in and it already irks you, just pull it out before the glue dries because some things like that's like itching my OCD or something. Like I know there's something there that doesn't look right, so I'm just gonna take it out before the glue dries and try again. Okay. I'm gonna dip this right here. Okay. And I'm leaving all the stems like probably 3 inches off the base. And it's okay if some of the stem goes through. Like some people like to slide things on. I think the most secure way to do things, and everybody has their own way and there's no right or wrong, except my way is better. Just kidding. I think if you put it through, okay, and then you'll see at the end we glue again. So the glue is going to be on this part of the stem, and then we're going to go back at the end and make sure that it's on the very end of it, sealing it to the wreath. I think that's the best way of doing it because if you slide it like this, what's holding it on might be the glue. But in addition, you could have the grapevine itself holding it. And so to me, like, that's what this is such a good base for. Like, I'm sure if you have grapevine wreaths or if you go to the store to buy them, you grab one and like 4 come off. That's because they're grippy. So you want to take advantage of the grippiness and push your stems through it. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like your clothes get stuck on them. Like they're doing their job. They're grippy creatures. All right, so here with our pattern, I'm gonna go in, put our other hydrangea in. Here. And I want this guy pointed down a little bit and this one to be pointed more upward. Okay, so again, this was our second layer of flowers for our pattern. And now it's starting to like whittle down. Like we don't have a whole lot of space for flowers. So we have one more that we're going to use before we start getting into like our texture. All right, so we have these really airy peonies. And I love these. These are also from Pioneer. And they're just like, they just make me happy. Like they just look like happy flowers. So starting at the top. We're going to put this in. And so, if you've watched me before, I may sound like a broken record, but this is muscle memory because this is pretty much how I start every wreath. Even if it's going to be like a full wreath, I always start here and I always know where I'm going to start. Like I might not know where I'm going to finish, but I know how it's going to start, and that just gets me like on track. Connie's loving the shades of pink, and Connie loves pink. She loves pink and she loves bright colors. And Connie, good news, my Pioneer order came in with those flowers. And it's a huge order, so it's going to take me a few days to unpack it all. But if anybody does shop at Pioneer, what I just found out looking through like the frequently asked questions is that if you meet certain maximums, there's an automatic code. Okay, I've been ordering from them for years. I had no idea. So if it's over $1,000, look in the frequently asked questions, and there's a code that you put in for like 2.5% off. And then if you go over $2,500, it's 5% off. So the order I just did was like 3 G's because I have a ton of workshops coming up. I wanted to like be like fully like locked and loaded for the entire spring season. So I was like, well, might as well take advantage of the discount instead of doing several orders, just do like one monster order. So like right now my garage is just chock full of boxes and I can't wait to open them. But anyways, that's just a little tip on a way to save money if you shop at Pioneer. All right, and now just kind of taking a look back. We've got a little bit to fill near our bow. Again, not crowding, just near. And we're going to repeat. This bow was like, we're going to just keep smushing it and fluffing it, so I'm just going to leave it for now. But I always think that there is a good time to just take a step back and look for areas that maybe we're missing, you know, so, and I do this in class when I do like my in-person workshop. So I'll hold up someone's wreath and I will ask them like, where's an area that needs more attention, you know, or where's an area that seems off. So can anybody tell me? Let's see. Yes, I will do an unboxing for that for sure. So when I look back at this, I see that this is like a neglected area that's going to need some more greenery. The florals I feel are I think they're pretty evenly distributed. So we're going to work on evening things out with our greenery and then going in with the texture. Texture is always my favorite. So, all right. Get this back on. So it's okay that we still have some bare areas because that's where we're going to be putting in different types of greens. And the part that I had neglected is like right here. And I'm going to make this longer, which means I have to go back and make this longer. So I'm going to take one of my ficus branches. I'm going to cut these two side pieces off. Okay. And then we're going to go in. So I do think that if you're maybe a newer wreath maker, like during those times where like I pull the wreath back, I really do think it's good to get in and like respond to what you think is off, because oftentimes it could be something I'm still missing, but it's like really good practice to just train your eye on how things should look balanced. And then even if you don't see it right away, then once you see it like corrected, then you're like, okay, now it has like a balance and a flow. So see, we went lower here. So we're going to come up higher here. I'm going to take a sip of water because I've been talking a lot. I'm pretty much running off of jelly beans today. I found Valentine's Day jelly beans and they're so good. Okay. Facts you never knew and probably did not even care about. All right, so I pulled a couple things. And it's always like hit or miss. So I pulled these peach ranunculus, and even though I love them, I just am not really feeling peach on this. I think just sticking with different shades of pink is where I'd like to stay. Now I have these little buds, and I don't even know what they're from, but when I'm done like cutting up a bush, if there's something that I haven't used like this, I just threw it on the ground. But I always take a zip tie and I just zip tie them together nice and tight, and that way you don't have like a bunch of random things like scattered all over. You still have like all your materials in one spot. So it's good to just keep those little, I think they're like 6-inch zip ties, just to do that. Okay. So I want to put these in a place that they're going to get some attention. I'm going to go here. I'm going to repeat. Have it go down here. And let's see. And I think we'll put some on the ends. So this is the texture zone. This is where we start to plug in all the extra things. Like, could somebody stop where we were? Absolutely. But when you want your work to stand out, you're going to just go in and it's like all about the details. So let's see, what else did I pull? Let's see. Dark pink work. I do think dark pink would work. The only dark pink I had is, like, we could have used these, but I don't think they necessarily, I mean, they could go depending on what look. I was going for a softer look, so I think it's really like whatever you or your customer wants. Absolutely, like, incorporate those colors. So at the beginning I was talking about blue-based greenery. So an example of like a coordinating blue-based greenery is, okay, so our ficus is our foundation, and now going in with this eucalyptus, it's not like that like bright fresh green, and so these are both blue-based, okay? So these are gonna go together. It's okay that they're different shades. Their tone is what is coordinating, okay? So I'm gonna start to go in with some of our bare areas. This is just jumping out at me. So I love seeded eucalyptus. Just popped off. Okay, if ever you have a head pop off, I know you can just put it back on, but it's really, once I feel like you've like broken that like threshold, I think it's very likely it's going to come off again. So just put like a little dot of glue, whether it's on the stem or on the part that like base of the flower, and just secure it. It's really disappointing for clients to like open up a box and have something fall off, even if it's really not like your fault, because you, Lord only knows what happens when like things are getting shipped. But we just don't want anybody having like a disappointing experience when they shop with us, because they can choose a lot of different shops, and I take that like really seriously, that if someone chooses me to do something, then I want to make sure that I do the best work I can for them. All right. So I'm doing a little balancing with greens as we're going. We kind of had parameters, and now we've kind of gone a little bit past them. I'm going to continue plugging in our eucalyptus. See, this piece is just so big. I don't want to use it all in one spot. I'm not sure when I'm going to be doing the unboxing, because it's like it's a whole lot of work, and Pioneer is like really good about making sure that they package everything like to perfection. So it's a ton of like cardboard afterwards. So I have to do it on a day that I have time to go to the transfer station, which is the most New Hampshire thing I will ever do, because, you know, it's like it's going to the dump is the transfer station. So I go and I have to recycle it. But I mean, it's literally, it could be like 2 carfuls of cardboard. This is most likely going to be at least that. Because in addition to the Pioneer stuff, Michael's, I think, still is having that sale on hydrangeas where it's buy 2 get 3 free, and they're really nice. So I bought 300 of those. I'm just, my workshop is going to be filled to the brim. But Connie, I will try and like put out a little, if I know I'm going to do it, I'll at least try and get something out saying like I'm going to do it at some point today. And I'll record, I mean, any of the lives that I do, they get recorded and they get, you know, repurposed and put back on the YouTube channel. Okay. Going in, kind of rotating like up, down. And then what do we think of these? Because I have yet to use these, but I'm like super excited to use them. So these are called like, I think they're some type of like bead fern. And they definitely have some soft shades of pink. Let's put like 2 in and let's see. Because I just think some of them are really dark, and then like I really like the soft parts of this for this wreath. So let's see what these look like once they're in. And this greenery also comes in just like a plain green, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's incredibly vibrant, and it has a lot of like visual interest to it. All right, so let me know what you guys think about these going in. If you think the color works. This wreath will be available. I have actually several that I've done this week that I haven't listed, so I will be listing things soon. All right, any votes on this? Let's see. All right, I kind of don't think it goes with the greenery, so I'm just gonna pull it. I wish it was like a little bit softer. I'm trying to see what else I have that we can use. I do have some berries. Okay. And I love these berries because they have like a nice thick, sorry, I have like glue all over my fingers. Glue and spray paint. These have like a nice thick coating. So when you're doing the UV spray, they're going to be protected. If you have some that don't have this thick coating and like they're pretty much like styrofoam, then the UV spray itself actually kind of starts to like eat away at it. So it's better to spend a little bit of extra money on the berries. And, you know, like you're going to offset that with how you charge for your wreath if you're a seller. So if you buy, you know, berries that cost $5.50, then whatever your formula is, sometimes people do, you know, 2 times the cost of materials, 3 times the cost of materials. Sometimes people do it by their time. But I think whatever your system is, if you remain consistent to it, it's a whole lot easier because sometimes, you know, you do emotional pricing, which I've done. If I've done a wreath that took me like a couple hours and it just was a challenge, my gut is to charge more money, but that's actually not the way to do it. So I have to like, you know, take a step back and just say like, what is the formula? And abide by the formula. But if you're doing like a custom order and someone needs something super specific and you're spending all this time driving around, researching things, like you should account for your time and, you know, put a little bit of padding in there because the time that you're over there, you know, researching and driving around, you could be making a wreath and selling it. So I do think that's a fair thing for you to add your time in. All right, so I definitely want one of these at the end because I want these to get to be in like a good place, a good position where they're going to get the attention they deserve. Let's see. Okay, and then we have 2 taller pieces, so we'll go to the corners with them. And I'm not great keeping up with the comments. I just see that a few people actually, they did like that fern. But I kind of like fill things in now, but I will get better at it. All right, so she's getting there. I do think we have some bare spots around our bow. And then I think we need a little bit of something else. So these ferns are from Michael's. And you can get these, like you can do their pro pack so that you get them at, you know, a better price. And what I like about these is that they have like that viney crawling feel that I love. And they can kind of like jut out of any part of your wreath. And you're just going to get a lot out of them, a lot of movement. And this is one of the things like the Queen Anne's lace. Sometimes when you see these in the store, they've been really like handled and a lot of pieces are like off or they're falling off. It's just, you know, when you do the pro, when you order in pro from Michael's, I don't think those things ever see the store. I think that they come directly from like Michael's warehouse or whatever. I mean, like if you ordered, you know, 2 of one thing and 3 of another, it's going to come from a store, which means it's been handled, possibly handled like a little bit rough. But if you do use the Michael's Pro, then things are just packaged perfectly and they're in great shape. All right, so I'm cutting these into a whole lot of pieces because I want to put them all throughout this design. And I'm not going to let anything go to waste. So even like this little, we got like a couple little nubbin guys, like I can still use him. So you always want to manipulate your materials just to get the most out of them. All right, now let's go in. Marjorie, yes, I do love the berries. I'm a big fan. All right. So we're going to start somewhere crazy. We're going to start in this top corner. Bet you couldn't have guessed that. And like, look at that little airy movement. I love it. And then we're going to repeat. I want to try and find a piece that matches it. Doesn't have to be exact, but you don't want something that's like super heavy where you put something light. And this is also why I like cutting them up into so many pieces, because we are going to just put them throughout. I like things that crawl down. So when you think about things in nature, things don't just like grow super neat. They grow into one another. They disrupt one another. So I always think it's fun to have textured pieces that just go in kind of unexpected places. I also think that's a great way to design cottage style wreaths, because I think that's what makes them so special, is that like they're so packed with so many good things, so many good materials. Right. Here is looking a little bare. And do you guys like this greenery as much as I do? I think it's a fun one to work with. If you do use it, glue hairs like gravitate towards it. So make sure that I like to look at it in like natural light. Sometimes when you're just inside, you miss things. So when I photograph things, that's usually when I catch where most of the glue hairs are. I also use my blow dryer to also get them off, but there's just some that are just really hard to spot. Not forget about behind our bow. A few berries left, 2 pieces of greenery. Does anyone have a specific type of music that they like to listen to? Because when I'm like really relaxed, it's piano music. But then like if I need like a lot of energy, it's like Eminem, or lately it's been Linkin Park, which doesn't seem like the most like the most like to go hand in hand. And go through and try and get all the glue hairs off, okay? Because sometimes what happens is when you have glue on some of your materials and you heat it up, it just kind of goes and it attaches and it's clear and it's fine. But when that doesn't work, again, then you're going to go through with your hands and get any glue hairs off. So we do that, and then we flip our bow over. Let's see. Oh, awesome. Okay, yeah, yes. The piano music is relaxing, and I do love how wispy. That's a perfect word for the ferns. They are very, very wispy. And oh, they're so elegant. Thank you, Marjorie. All right. I appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate you guys like chatting with me while I do this. Okay, so if you drop glue on something, if you just let it dry versus like smudging it, it stays nice and thick, and then you can like peel it off. Sometimes it's tempting to just like catch it, but you're gonna burn your hand and you're probably going to damage it, especially if it's your bow. It's really hard to, like a leaf you could snip off, but if you hurt your bow, you might have to make a new bow or add to it. It's just a lot more complicated. So right now we see where all the stems are that came through. And we need to address them because these are gonna scratch somebody's door. So when I snip this off, you can see that's where the glue was that I dipped it in. So once we're done snipping all of these that are poking out, we're gonna go back with our glue gun and we are going to add more glue to make sure that it's fully secured. I'm in New England, so our weather is like very unpredictable. So for me, I don't take my wreaths in when there's a storm. So I like to make everything, you know how, what does like Ford say, like built Ford tough or whatever. Like for me, I want things to be like tough enough for New England weather. So I like taking these extra steps. See, and this is also why, this is the part where I feel like having these go through the back is how we're going to best secure them. Okay, now we're going to take our glue gun and we're going to take some preserved moss. Okay, so we're going to use just the green preserved moss, and it just kind of keeps that natural like woodland, you know, aesthetic going. So I'm going to take this. This is my Sure Bonder, and it's like a cordless cord glue gun. I have this linked in my link tree. I love this thing. It is super hot. It works so fast, and I've had this for a few years, so it's a great product. I did see one when I was on the Sure Bonder site. It's like on my wish list now, and it's like a legit battery operated charged glue gun. I want to say it's like $85 or something, but once it's charged, it's good for 2.5 hours. So I'm thinking like, especially when I go to do like workshops at places, I have to keep putting this gun down after like maybe a glue stick's worth for it to heat up. And I'm guessing with that other glue gun, you can just keep going. So that is on my wish list. But I have been also working on like an Amazon storefront. So there are things that help us care for ourselves. Like if you have, like my wrists and my joints bother me sometimes. So there are like certain things that I use just to help that, because if you are a wreath maker, if that's like what you're doing and your wrists and hands go, you're in trouble. So you are your best asset, and you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And I think it was on TikTok, not here, but there are these, was it here? Connie, did I do? Thank you so much, Dawn. Did anybody see if I did one with like the hot pink peonies? Let's see, I had something. I'm going to grab it and see if anybody remembers it, because there's like a whole thing behind those particular flowers. All right, so right here, big glob of glue. I'm just going to wait and let that dry so I can peel it off. While that's just drying, did I make this wreath on YouTube? Because there's just like a whole prep to these florals. They kind of come like a hot mess, but they're worth investing the time to like bring them to life. So if I haven't done it on this platform, I'll do it. Customers absolutely love these peonies, specifically like this color, but they kind of love them all. There's like a million different colors, different varieties. So, but the hot pink is like such a, like, it's just an eye catcher. Major curb appeal. All right, so back to our wreath. This glue is dry, so look at that. I'm just gonna pull it right off. Didn't burn my fingers and didn't damage anything. And then I would do this outside. So I think all makers, if you're working with artificial florals, should use this Krylon spray. This is not an endorsement by any means. This spray, what it does is it's almost like, think of sunscreen. It's something that the sun has to like try and eat away at to damage the color of your florals, especially the greens. The greenery has a habit of like turning really blue when they get a lot of sun exposure. So I always do a good like 30, 40 seconds. You can do the bow, you can do the berries. I always put a little extra on the greens. And I link this in my Amazon store because, so I buy this at Michael's for like $12 and then I use a coupon. So it's probably like under 10. But for some reason, they don't show this on their website. So I showed it in the Amazon shop. I did notice though that Amazon's only charging $12.99. So that's not so bad. But you're going to get a lot of use out of this. And it's really nice for anybody who's selling to be able to advertise that your products are UV protected. Not everyone does that. I don't really see it that often, or that people are doing it and they're not charging. You know, you're not using that much product to do an upcharge, I don't think, but to each their own. But yes, so Krylon also makes a matte and a crystal version of this, which I do think you'll find on Michael's website. However, like this is specifically for your florals. And while you can use the others, this is going to give you the best results. Okay. So that's really all I have for today. Let's see. Happy Friday. If there are things that you guys want to see in the comments, just let me know. I read them all and I do take note of them. So, you know, if there's something, it can be totally random. Just let me know. It's helpful for me. And then I can, you know, come back and do a tutorial on it. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for all the kind words and for hanging in there and keeping me company. And I hope you guys all have an awesome weekend. Bye-bye.